I am 3 weeks postpartum with a very chilled baby, so let's see how much we can get done around the house between our wake-ups. Both my older children are at school and preschool. My middle son goes to preschool 2 days a week, and while I'm on maternity leave, I'm going to take one of those days as an opportunity to reset the house, and the other as a chill day where I can go for walks with the pushchair, sit on the settee, watch the Traitors and the second half of Bridgerton while getting in all of the baby snuggles. And then that leaves me more time the rest of the week to be present and getting some decent quality time with everybody. That is the plan anyway. Life with kids is always a balancing act, and now I've got to figure out how it all goes as a mum of 3. And of course things are going to change from week to week, but I'm excited to take on that challenge. And I am well aware of how fast it all goes, so I really want to prioritise quality time, whilst also not letting the house get on top of me. Because when I'm on top of the house, I feel more put together, happier, and that makes me a more present mum. So welcome to this new chapter of my life, and let's see how we get on. In these first few months, while baby's still so small, my plan is to shift away from big marathon house cleans and more towards weekly house reset videos and day in the lives. The videos will be a bit shorter, as I'm sure you can understand, but they'll hopefully be packed full of motivation, reality and reassurance. And this will not only keep me motivated, but hopefully you too. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what this new year and new family dynamic is going to teach me and what new videos are going to come from that. So this is wake up and feed number 1 since I started this clean, and so far I managed to wash up and put away the pots and put a wash on. One thing I'm absolutely not going to be doing is trying to rush through things and stress myself out. This is such a precious and fleeting time, and I want to make the most of it. So I usually have a theme for my resets based on what I think the priority is that week. It can either be cleaning, decluttering, tidying or getting odd jobs done. Today I'm focusing on cleaning because we've actually been doing really well keeping on top of the mess while Charlie's been on paternity leave. But as we all know, when you're spending your time in one area, another area starts to slip. That's my experience anyway. You can't have everything all together all at once, and that's okay. Similarly, you might have a plan for how your day's going to go, and that ends up going completely out of the window, which is what happened with me today. I had this grand idea that I was going to deep clean the entire living room, pull out the table and the settee, scrub and mop the floor and carpet vac the rug. But time seemed to just disappear, and my baby said, actually, joke's on you, I'm not going to be as chilled today. She still is a very chilled baby though, especially compared to my eldest who had to be picked up at all times, otherwise he'd just scream the place down. Velcro baby is what they call them. And I had King Velcro baby of all Velcro babies. Honestly, for the first pretty much year of his life, I couldn't get anything done. And this is why I'll always preach that motherhood is a completely different experience depending on the temperament of your baby. It's also a completely different experience if you've got an attentive and involved partner. Some people might be able to be on top of the house every day and seem like they have it all together, and some people will just be living amongst piles and in survival mode. And neither scenario means you're doing it better than the other, it's just the way things go. And either way, the most important thing, way above a pristine house, is a happy baby and a happy mum. And like I said, it's all about finding that balance. And in these first few months with a new baby, you have to be adaptable and roll with all of the changes that each day brings, which can be so hard for people who are used to or reliant on routine to function at their best. I say Velma's chilled now, but speaking from experience, that could change any day, and I might have another Velcro baby on my hands. And that would mean completely changing the way I go about housework and my entire day, really. It'd involve surrendering my need to have a schedule and just soaking in all of the cuddles, being there for her, and putting other things on the back burner. Which is what every parent has to do, obviously, but with a Velcro baby, it's to the extreme. These babies want to be held 24/7. Right now, though, she's still sleeping lots, and so I'm able to potter about in between times and get stuff done. And so far, I've managed to do some of the daily bits and bobs, stuff that I was going to have to do anyway, but I've also given the cupboards a good clean, which was something I wouldn't have usually done, so I'm counting that as a win. I've also repotted my new plant, and I've got a handy little cleaning stick now so that I don't have to climb onto the cupboards. Then baby was getting a bit fussy, so I fed her and moved her to a different location, and it was time for a little lunch break for me. Next, I thought I'd give the tumble dryer a good clean because the top was covered in congealed laundry detergent and I really needed to get rid of some of the dust from the inside. I do empty the trays daily, but it still builds up, doesn't it? If I'm doing this wrong, please be kind because I've never had a tumble dryer before. And anyway, when I'm doing a reset, I always like to get at least one thing done that can't be undone in a day. So this was it today. I always find these kind of jobs help you feel really on top of things because you do them and your hard work isn't going to be completely undone by the end of the day. It just gives you that little morale boost. Off I go taking the laundry up the stairs so I don't leave it on the stairs. Leave it on the stairs and it will form a pile and stay there for days. If you're new here, I am an absolute nightmare when it comes to leaving piles of stuff around the house. At the beginning of this channel, you'd see the stairs were always covered in stuff, to the point that it was a hazard. And we've come a long way from that point. We're really trying to make a conscious effort not to leave things or walk past things, but it is so easy to get back into old patterns. So I'm just giving the filters a wash, and of course I'm going to leave them to dry fully before putting them back. Tried to use a hoover to get all of the dust out of here, but it did not work. I ended up having to use a cloth, but it is such a small space. I'm sure there's a better, more practical way of doing this. Please let me know if you know, because I definitely didn't manage to get all of the dust. I'm still so thrilled to have a tumble dryer. It's made life so much easier. I know I resisted it for so long because I didn't think we had enough space and I thought it was going to look horrible in this corner. But at this stage of our lives, it's practicality over aesthetics. One day, though, I'll have my laundry room. I'm manifesting it. Anyway, then I had a hungry customer shouting my name. This was feed and cuddle number 3. She still hasn't lost her newborn scrunch yet. I love having a newborn. Every feed at the minute I'm catching up on the traitors. Went to carry on cleaning the tumble, but it lasted about 2 seconds. In the 3 weeks I've had her, I've also watched His and Hers on Netflix and Runaway. Highly recommend both of those. It's been amazing having Charlie home all the time. I spent the first 2 weeks of her life pretty much snuggled in bed, healing, having that bonding time, watching movies, had all of the meals cooked and brought up to me. This was the night we brought her back from the hospital. And the boys, my mum and grandma, met her for the first time. And this is what I mean when I say a good partner can make or break your postpartum. And supportive friends and family. My best friends, when they came to visit, bought gift baskets and homemade soup and lemon loaf. And I am adamant that food is the best gift for a mum who's just had a baby. Food or the gift of a clean house. All of this to say I'm extremely lucky, but I have experienced both sides of the coin. Anyway, back to the tumble dryer, and this is your sign to remember the drawer at the base also gathers dust and needs to be cleaned because I clearly let it slip my mind. I've since had some tips about cleaning this bit, and apparently putting it in the shower and letting the shower drain everything through is the best way to do it. Obviously then, again, you have to let it dry thoroughly before putting it back into the tumble. I'm sure there's a better way to clean this as well. Please let me know. People have mentioned the risk of rust, but when I've pulled it out of this bit, it's been damp as well, so I don't know what I'm doing, honestly. I'd advise you find an actual instruction manual or how-to video and not take tips from silly old me when it comes to this. Anyway, popped everything back onto the tumble again. This is my laundry station for the time being, but we are going to get shelves above here soon. And I kept this bag from my hospital bag just to store Velma's washing in. Next on my list was bagging up some clothes to donate. My eldest Rudy had gone through his clothes the night before and thrown down some things that didn't fit. And I had some clothes that Velma's already grown out of. That is so upsetting. Plus some things we impulse bought and didn't end up using. Some brand new with the tags on that can make another family very happy. And it makes me happy donating and being proactive at decluttering as soon as things need to be decluttered, rather than holding on to things and letting the house get overwhelmed with stuff. So it's a win-win. Although I couldn't resist getting these cute matching sets for summertime, so I guess at the minute it's 1 in, 1 out. We don't have the best storage space, but I'm determined to just be positive and make the best of it this year. Things don't have to be perfect. And as I said, we plan to be in a bigger house soon. It was time again for another Milk and Traitors break featuring my tripod. And I'd finally made my way into the living room. Bear in mind it was about 2 p.m. at this point and nearly time to collect the boys. And my rule with these resets is I can spend the entire school day resetting the house if that's what I want to do. But I have to draw the line at pickup because that's family time. If you've followed for a while, you'll know I struggle with balance and transitioning between tasks, so I have to be really conscious of how I spend and split my time and make sure that I don't get too zoned in. Anyway, cleaned some dried old banana off the Play-Doh mat, no idea why that was on there. And then I cleaned a spillage that was underneath that mat. What's the mat for? Never mind, eh? It was at this point I realised I'd been working pretty much all day whilst feeding and comforting a baby that isn't even demanding compared to some, and by a lot of people's standards, I didn't actually get that much done at all. It wasn't much of a reset and more of a daily clean that took hours and hours because of all of the breaks. I spent most of my time in the kitchen, only just managed to make my way into the next room, and I had planned to do a bit in every room of the house. But despite that, I'd been so productive and barely stopped. And it got me thinking about the comments on some of my previous videos. You know, the ones where I pull out all the furniture and people assume that means I never clean my house and I'm a terrible person. Where in this day or the next day or the next could I have found the time to pull out the furniture and clean underneath it, when there were so many more important things to clean and sort, and those things will be back again tomorrow. Obviously we find the time at some point, but to assume if people don't do these things regularly they're lazy, or that everyone has the same 24 hours or even the same priorities is wild to me. At the end of the day, we're all just doing the best we can with the time we have. Anyway, Charlie was back, so it was time to swap because I'd had a C-section 3 weeks ago and I wanted to sit down. I feel so much better than I did when I was pregnant. I feel like a different person actually, but my scar does start to smart when I've been on my feet for a long time. But yeah, I just wanted to say that we all have different levels of mobility, pain, time, money, motivation, and we all have different brains that function in different ways. And if the only thing you managed to do today was wash the pots or put in a load of laundry, you've still achieved something and you've still worked towards the upkeep of your space, and you deserve a pat on the back for that. And I know it's way easier said than done, but try not to compare yourself to anyone else, because we're all dealing with such different situations and things may look a certain way on the surface, but you might be comparing yourself to a version of someone that doesn't actually exist. Anyway, evening time came, it was lovely and rainy outside, the boys were playing Minecraft while I cooked dinner, and this has somehow turned from a reset into an evening in the life, but I've decided to just let that happen because sometimes it's good to see the behind the scenes, especially in cleaning videos. It's important to see that things aren't as easy as the cleaning videos suggest. You clean up and the mess comes back pretty much straight away, and I want to make a point to show that whenever I can. Because I know personally, I'll watch cleaning videos, specifically the cleaning videos where people are cleaning already clean houses and there isn't a thing out of place, there's no clutter, no piles, no dishes left out on sides. And my brain goes straight to, I'm not good enough, I'm not disciplined enough, not energetic enough. And I fail to remember that there will be times in most of these houses too where there is mess, because a human being or multiple human beings live there. And as content creators, we're only showing the parts we want to show. And you know, maybe there are some extremely motivated and disciplined people who are constantly picking up as they go, and they don't have as much mess throughout the day, but a good number of us do. So be discerning and always try to remember that social media isn't real life, and that the life we have, the home we have, and the people in our lives, with all of their flaws and peculiarities, that's what's real and important. My house might be small and cluttered, the carpets might be stained and the skirting boards peeling, but this is the house I moved into when I was a newly single mum, and it was just me and 2-year-old Rudy, and we barely had any furniture, and then bit by bit over the years we made it a home, and it's the only place I and Velma have ever known as home. And yeah, I've forgotten what my point was. I think it's just that imperfect lived-in spaces are good enough. Anyway, as you can see, I made spaghetti and meatballs for dinner. I'm still managing to keep my promise about eating at the kitchen table at least 4 times out of the 7, because I think it's so important for catching up at the end of the day. After school always feels so rushed and like there's no time at all between them getting home and the bedtime routine, and somehow you've just got to cram everything into that short amount of time. It can feel really chaotic and I absolutely hate it, so I try to be as intentional as possible with the time we do have. After dinner, the boys cleared the table and washed the pots while I fed baby. Rudy has a chore chart for every day of the week, and today's chore is wash the pots, so he washed and Charlie dried. And we always try to use this time as well for a good old chat, and Rudy took this opportunity to try and get us to buy him a new game. And we're trying at the minute to teach him about the value of money and time. He always gets £2.50 pocket money at the end of every week, so we were working out how many weeks it'd take him to save up to buy the game himself. Of course, we could just buy it for him, but I feel like it'd mean so much more to him in the long run if he took the time to be patient and save and buy it for himself. And it's a good lesson to learn in life, isn't it? And it'll give him that sense of accomplishment. And then after that, me and Charlie tackled this enormous pile of washing while the boys had a bath. And then this doubled up as a little daily catch-up for us as well. When you're in the thick of parenthood, or even when you're both just busy with work or whatever it is, Sometimes finding these moments in these mundane, everyday things are equally as special as going out for a date or intentionally making that time to spend together. It's all about perspective and remembering that now is all we have. So we can either live for special moments or make the small moments special. And I never want to lose our spark or forget that I'm living the life I dreamed of 7 years ago, when I was nervously stacking shelves at Asda with this really quiet new guy, trying to think of how to make conversation and wondering if he might like me as much as I liked him. And now look, we're laughing and folding the clothes of the little family we created together. I learned about the importance of gratitude and living in the now quite early on in life, and I genuinely think that's why I'm such a happy person. That's not to say I don't have my moments, because I definitely do. I can be overly sensitive, obsessive and grumpy. It's usually only Charlie that sees that side of me though. I can be very anxious, especially when my mum brain takes over. But overall, I'm a content and happy human, and I try to give some of that energy to everyone I encounter throughout the day, because why not? These things create a ripple effect and they make the world a better place. Anyway, that's the washing done and put away, and now it's time to play some card games before bed. I really hope you enjoyed watching or listening along, and I will see you again very soon.